Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Give it a little bit of time so that everyone can get on. Hey, Pete, how are you?
Good, Jose. How's everything?
That blue looks good on you.
Very much. Brings out my eyes, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, things are good. Things are well. It was nice weather today for change. Been chilly.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, good to see you. We missed you last month.
I know. I wanted to apologize about that. I sent the follow-up.
Listen, you are like Pete. You're always here. You don't have to apologize. It's all right.
Oh boy. I mean, I always look at the calendar, and sometimes I'm lucky to get an invitation. But since I pull up regularly, I'm just gonna be there. So that was my bad. That was definitely my bad.
You're such a regular panelist that we just no invitations are needed. We have you there.
I thought he was a board member at one point.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good one.
All right.
Like, why didn't he vote? Well, what's his vote?
Oh man. Yeah, I think I was eligible. How we all doing? It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's a calm before the storm. Hopefully we don't get those 30s too soon, but we're around there.
I agree.
Right.
I have
Go ahead.
I said I was just gonna joke around. I was gonna say I have an old injury, and I think I've mentioned to a couple people on this call, but the other night it hit 38 degrees, 39 degrees, and I could definitely feel it. So when it gets colder, I'm definitely aware.
Absolutely. I remember that night because I was like, heater. Like in the middle of the night it happened.
Yeah.
After that, I've left it on auto. I'm like, turn on by yourself, my guy.
We'll see. We'll see if I do that in time.
I think my video's been off all this time.
Oh.
I see you, Don.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have Miguel.
I thought I was live. Wasn't
Carly. Judith is on now. Carly, how are we doing with quorum?
If Judith's joined, then I believe we have one more. Need one more.
Yeah, Judith's in. Okay, one more. Let's give it a few more minutes.
Sign up, Jeremy, quick.
Right.
There is a phone number on the attendee section. I just want to make sure that it's not a board member. So if you can unmute, I'll unmute you. You can dial *6. If you can let me know, actually there's two numbers. If you can let me know your name, and I can write your name down for the record. We have a phone number ending in 350. Can you dial *6 and let us know your name?
How
Okay.
about phone number 188?
Okay, yeah. What about phone number 188?
Detective Gomez?
Detective Gomez? Is that what you heard too?
That's what I heard.
Yep.
That's who it is. Detective Gomez works for Community Affairs in Precinct, Borough, Manhattan North.
Oh, okay. Nice. Great to have you here, Detective Gomez. All right, we'll give it a few more. Let's give it another 2 minutes and then we can start with the informational updates so that way we gain some time and hopefully as we go along, we will get our last for quorum. I think Marissa was going to get on until 7 or after 7, I'm not sure.
Till 7.
Till 7, right? Okay. I'm gonna text her.
We do have a vote later on this evening, so we might want someone else who's not leaving at 7 to be the person who counts toward quorum.
I know. Oh, we'll take it in strides.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Don.
Maybe it's Robert.
That actually was technically a question, right?
If we keep hearing sort of the same things out in the streets, how do we add an agenda item officially? Because I keep getting calls about the overproliferation of drug treatment centers, and there's
So reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
So I'll send you a note because I'm hearing the same thing and I just wanted to see if we should like put a statement out or.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we've always tried to tackle. Since I've been on this board, so it's a topic. They've always told us that it doesn't actually go to the community board, it goes directly to the state. So the process doesn't involve us. Doesn't mean that we can't put out a statement or comment on it or send a letter or anything of that nature. That can still be done. But yeah, definitely.
Seems to be a perception that we are going along with it because we are not actively stopping it from happening. And so we just probably need to clarify things, even for community board members who are
Sure.
unclear
Absolutely.
about it.
All right, it's 6:38. It is November 9th, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome all committee members to the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. We have Lyle here, and we're going to do our ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulties, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. This sounds way better when Carly reads it. I'm just going to say that. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics, or all such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or state in writing information like an email address that was already stated out loud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions, comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment through the subjects of the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. There's 2 Lyles. All right, so go to order and then we're going to the roll call. Carly?
Okay, Altamirano,
Present.
Alcancella, Collier,
Here.
Diaz, Febrero,
Present.
Garcia, Mack, Morris, Hava,
Present.
Sanders,
Present.
and Wiltshire Clement. We do not have quorum, so you cannot adopt the agenda.
Okay, so we won't adopt the agenda at this particular point. Have to do it when we have quorum. However, we can move forward with our information up on first announcements. Carly, if you please, we'd like to hear your
Sure.
voice.
So the BX15 bus route that serves 125th Street and the 3rd Avenue corridor in the Bronx will be split into two. The BX15 will only serve Fordham Road to 148th Street and 3rd Avenue in the Bronx. The new M125 will serve the remainder of the route from 149th Street and 3rd Avenue until 125th Street and 3rd Avenue. The new M125 bus will also replace the M100 across 125th Street.
Is this something they actually spoke to us about some time ago? And I guess they're finally going to implement it now. When they did the Bronx redesign, they actually told us they were going to do this. Carly, I see that Jessica joined us and Marissa joined us. So you may
Okay,
want
great.
to note that in attendance.
Okay, we have quorum. So if you want to go back to the adoption of the agenda and minutes.
Do we have to motion on that or just adopt it?
It's the if no one objects.
No one objects to the adoption agenda? Does anyone object to the adoption of the October committee minutes? No, perfect. Thank you. Let's move forward. Peter Gibbons, it's all on you. Carly, can we make sure that we have the screen that we spoke with Jessica about the concept? There we go.
All good?
Good.
All right, thank you, Jose. Thank you, Carly, and thanks everyone for having me as always. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Officer Gibbons from the 23rd Precinct, Community Affairs, and I always promise to be brief. This time I actually am because I have a 7 o'clock appointment as well. So I'll jump right into it. The 23rd Precinct is up in major crime, 2.2% year to date. That is 930 major crimes this year versus 910 in 2020. That is year to date. The categories we are up in: robbery, 10.7%, felony assault, 17.9%, grand larceny, 5.6%. Categories we are down in: murder, 12.5%, burglary, 37%, grand larceny of auto, 10.3%, and we are down in shootings, 12.9%. Concerning rape, we are even for the year as compared to last year's numbers. Getting more specific, more recent, the last 28 days, the 23rd Precinct is down in a big way in crime, 18.7%. Specifically, murder, we had 1 murder in the last 28 days versus 0 last year. The homicide was a stabbing. It made the papers. It was a big deal. It was tragic. It was awful. On the 19th of October, a worker at the deli at 1982nd Avenue, that's right around 102nd Street, was involved in an argument with a customer. It escalated very quickly. The customer made threats, went outside, sort of take it outside kind of thing. And unfortunately, the deli worker took it outside. He and a fellow worker from the deli came outside. And to be very frank, time has passed. Our investigation continues, but I can share a little bit more information now than I would have been able to several weeks ago. It was an all-out fight, and it was an all-out brawl between 2 people who worked at the deli and the customer. It seems as though the deli workers had dealt with this individual before, probably were up to $1 million with him, and snapped, had enough. And they decided they were going to make a stand this time. They came out swinging, literally. They had weapons of a sort. Okay, they were carrying sort of makeshift weapons, and the perpetrator of the homicide pulled out a knife and tragically stabbed one of the workers, killing him that night, so close to midnight. And just as very, very sad situations, a series of events that from our perspective, we wish hadn't happened that way. We talk to our business community, please, if anything happens, it's just not worth it. You call 911, we'll keep the peace, or we'll deal with the person if necessary. Now, unfortunately, in this case, we ended up with a fatality. Now, we identified the suspect in this case. We know of his whereabouts, but we're working very closely with the district attorney, and we haven't made an arrest yet because of the nature of the incident. We're still trying to work through the legal technicalities because of the nature of the incident. And there's a very, very strong self-defense element to this case. And we have to respect that. It's the law. And so we're trying to decide, along with the district attorney, what charges, if any, will be filed upon arrest. And that is the story behind that murder. We had no rapes, thank God, in the last 28 days. We had, in terms of robberies, 18 in the last 28 days versus 14 in 2020. So that is a slight uptick. 6 of those were domestic violence related, as I've talked about in the past. A domestic violence robbery takes place usually under certain circumstances inside an apartment where one partner will, grab someone by the neck or grab someone by the arm or force them up against the wall and violate them by stealing a property, usually a cell phone, out of spite or out of jealousy. So that's why a robbery will occur in a domestic violence situation. We had 2 dating app setups. This is increasingly common. So please, if you're out there, be careful. Know who you're talking to. If they invite you over to the home, to their apartment or something like this, please know what you're getting into. And we had 2 cases where people were invited over for a close encounter, and they got way more than they bargained for. In one case, the perpetrator pulled a gun and robbed the person at gunpoint. And the other, they had a group of associates waiting for that person when they got off the elevator. They beat that person up and took their property. We had 2 knife point robberies, one at 4 a.m. on 115 and Pleasant Avenue, another at 111 and Park Avenue at 10 p.m. 2 delivery men were robbed, one at 104th and 2nd. Arrest was made, and the bike was recovered in that case by a wonderful, quick response from our patrol officers. And another of those delivery robberies took place at Lexington houses. We had 3 gunpoint robberies, 2 at Carver, not including the dating setup. We had 2 at Carver. They're currently under investigation. There's some possible element to it. The parties might have been known to each other. This might be some sort of drug-related issue. And the other was at 107th and Lexington Avenue. We had 2 phones taken by physical force. One at 104 and Lex and one at 112 and First. And we had 1 robbery at the mosque of an individual who got into an argument with someone that escalated. They hit him over the head and took advantage of that to take property. Felony assaults were down slightly this year, 30 versus 33 last year. About approximately half of them are domestic violence related, almost all of which we've made arrests in. The gang violence that I normally talk about, which is a constant theme, of course, has in large part subsided. We're still seeing, especially between Lehman and Taft, as a result of Lehman's blood feud with Johnson that's been going over the course of years following the murder of Luis Encarnacion some years ago. Taft is an ally of Johnson. So there is now a Taft-Lehman angle that has flared up of late and resulted in some very close calls. But fortunately, no one has been shot. So we haven't had a shooting since September 18th. No one has been hit by a bullet in the 23rd precinct since September 18th. So that's a major, major development, tremendous progress. In the last 28 days during our reporting period here, we have had 6 shots fired. And again, in Lehman, were 2 of the most dangerous episodes, or not in Lehman, I'm sorry, but Madison Avenue between Lehman and Taft, 2 of the most dangerous episodes. And then there was a cluster around East River houses where, we've got the Wooski and East Army allied clans, picking fights with usually Washington houses, broad day shooters. So that could be flaring up over there. We'll keep a close eye on that. Burglaries, next category, we're down significantly, 8 versus 14. That's continuing a trend all year. We're down 37% in burglaries. As all our work from our evidence collection team, I never give them a shout out, and I'm totally remiss in not doing that. Evidence collection team shows up at all these burglaries, does a really painstaking job of collecting whatever kind of prints, DNA, physical evidence that can be processed for clues at every one of these crimes. And it helps us catch a lot of these guys, along with the wonderful work from our detectives and our cops actually looking through hours and hours of video. And eventually we make arrests. And now it's sort of paying off. The judges are actually sentencing these folks to some time. Grand larceny is down quite a bit as well, 24 versus 35. So those are major theft or theft of a certain type of property. And we're seeing, a turnaround in that. We've done a lot of outreach in terms of some of our pattern grand larcenies, like scams and thefts from cars, where people were getting credit cards. A lot of things, they were taking stuff from, the center console when they broke into a car, and they were getting very lucky of late. Also catalytic converters, which are very expensive. So that's a grand larceny. 24 versus 35. Continue to urge people, though, remember, unattended property is always an issue. Please be aware of that. Scams always continue to be an issue. It comes and goes. We do our we go hard on the outreach, and then people are wise to these scams, and then for whatever reason we forget, or maybe the law enforcement gets lax and stops warning people about it. But in any event, always remember, don't give any money over the phone, please. Grand larceny of auto also down 6 versus 9 last year over the same period of time. So that's a good step in the right direction. I only have a few more minutes. I do have to leave for another meeting. And I promised Jessica Morris that I would, as I should have been doing, go over some traffic stats. Because this is a public safety and transportation meeting. I think it was a terrific suggestion. So I will give a brief talk about our traffic stats, and then we can fine tune as we go along. You can tell me, what you want more or less of next time, or if you have any thoughts on what you would like to know about our streets, our pedestrians, our bikes, and our cars. So I'll give a little bit of that tonight, and then we can do more as we go on, and I have more time. In the year to date, in case you're wondering and you're a stat person, we've had 717 accidents in the 23rd precinct. These are motor vehicle or bicycle accidents. That is down 9.6% from last year, when we had 793. And that's similarly for the 28-day period, we've had 63 traffic accidents, where last year we had 70. So that is down 7%. However, in the last week, in the last 5 days, in fact, we have had 2 fatal accidents. One was today on 112th Street and 2nd Avenue, and one was last Thursday on 100th Street and Lexington Avenue. And they both involved motorcycles, basically, but not unregistered. In one case, one was unregistered, stolen, a bootleg motorcycle. And in the other case, it was a modified dirt bike. It was one of those mini dirt bikes, almost, not the tiny ones that you might buy for your kid, but one of those that's just sort of small and easier to ride around. So a grown man, a 47-year-old man, was riding eastbound on 112th Street today through red lights on one of these things, and he got absolutely, it was brutal. I saw the video myself, and he hopefully did not know what hit him, and he died on the scene at 112th Street and 2nd Avenue. He was rushed to the hospital, but he clearly was not going to make it. He was hit by a car traveling southbound on 2nd Avenue. That car was being driven by a 15-year-old boy who bought it legally, had title, because apparently if you're 15, you can buy a car. Of course, you can't register it in your name, and you can't drive it. He had no license, of course. But anyway, and he was driving too fast. He was driving green lights, but he had a ton of green lights ahead of him, and he was driving too fast, and he killed a 47-year-old man at 112th. And 2nd Ave today, he fled with a a passenger. They fled the car, but we caught him returning to the car, trying to retrieve property from that car, which is extremely suspicious because nobody ever returns to the scene of a car. Now, the car was in his name in terms of title, so we probably would have been able to track him down. So maybe we would have tracked him down anyway. In addition, our officer on the scene who responded to this accident, looking at the video, knew exactly who he was because he was arrested a week ago for running a red light in the same car with no license. Just a brutal situation. The 100th Street and Lexington Avenue was a single vehicle accident. It was a unregistered motorcycle stolen. No, we don't know if it was stolen by the deceased, but in any event, he was practicing wheelies on 100th Street and Lexington Avenue, and he rear-ended a car, and he died today of injuries sustained on Thursday in that accident. So just an awful, awful situation in both cases. And I don't need to say anymore. The two-wheelers out there are you know, it's we see it every day. It's obviously a dangerous situation that we are trying to address. The city is trying to address, and I know you guys are constantly thinking about it and have been discussing it over the course of this year. Also, I told Jessica I would discuss our accident-prone locations. We call them APLs. Normally, an accident-prone location is a location that has like 3 or 4 more accidents in a given period of time. I say 3 accidents in the 28-day period. We haven't had any of those in the 28-day period, but I want to point out some historically accident-prone locations or critical locations, as we call sort of a stretch, not an intersection. So 97th and 2nd Avenue is a historic APL, accident-prone location. There's just a lot of traffic there. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic there because of the hospital, the mosque, the subway station, people moving in and around that area. That is historically accident-prone location. 104th and 3rd Avenue is a accident-prone location, but it's seasonal. That normally is a summer issue into the fall. I don't want to impugn the fine farmers market that we have over there, but it would seem from our reviews of those accidents that a lot of people are making left turns there because the street is closed on 104th Street every Thursday when a lot of these accidents take place, and they are at the last minute realizing that they would have to take a left turn. As we all know, it's the most dangerous of all the turns and traffic maneuvers, and they're making that left turn without proper preparation. And I talked to our highway safety sergeant today about that, and we may have to, depending on how how many accidents, how serious things get, we may have to put like a variable message board like we did on 3rd Avenue at 100th Street. We may have to put that, or between 99 and 100th. So we put one on 104th Street and Lexington Avenue so that people are aware that there is going to be a street closure. The investment of the variable message board is apparently a little significant because it's not the easiest thing in the world to get one, and to have it just for a Thursday event, I'm not sure that the city would do it, but we'll see. We'll talk. Lastly, the 2nd Avenue corridor is a critical location. As we discussed today, there was a fatal accident on 112th Street and 2nd Avenue, and that is a historic accident-prone location. I'm looking in the 28-day period. There were actually 5 accidents between 106th Street and 103rd Street on 2nd Avenue. So in addition to other accidents spread out over that corridor. So I apologize. I do have to cut out. Normally I would stick around for questions if anyone has anything that they have to ask me right now. Otherwise, my email address is a lot of you probably have it, but it's peter.gibbons, peter.gibbons at BBON@NYPD.org. But I think almost, please feel free to email me. I'll email you back with any kind of information that you need. But today is one of those days, 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Officer Gibbons. And now I know why 2nd Avenue got closed at 116th Street. I was going to ask you, I'm sure it was further down.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you always. And
My
we'll
pleasure.
see you next month. All right, now we have Detective Gomez. Let's go.
Hi, everyone.
There you are.
Hi, everyone. Good. I'm just actually here to observe and hear, any questions you guys might have, so I can just take it back to Chief Rivera.
All right, perfect. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence.
No problem.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Detective Gomez, were you doing the event on 126 and Lex by chance?
On 125th and where?
126 and Lex?
When was this? Just so many
I
events.
felt
I'm
like I
sorry.
met you there, but maybe I didn't.
Probably. Yeah, we
Next
stopped
to-
by a lot of events.
Next to IHOP.
Next to IHOP. Yeah, I probably was there.
Well, it was a wonderful event. It really was. So thank you.
No problem.
I believe we still don't have a replacement for the 2-5 precinct. As you all know, Officer Rivera got promoted.
We do have a hand raised in the attendee section. I'm not sure if you want to wait until after or if you would like to call on them now.
Sure, just go ahead.
Oh, never mind.
No?
Hand went down.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, it went back up.
where do I go? Go ahead.
Okay, Ebony?
Yes, Esky, it's Ebony's husband, Rashad. How was everybody today?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. I'm not even sure if we're at the right precinct, but just we're trying to address the issues we've been having on Randall's Island. I'm not sure if that's the 23rd or the 25th precinct.
25th.
I'm sorry, it's the 25th. Ebony just corrected me. So just wanted to know where we were with that and what the ideas were to, I guess, literally quiet that noise. I know we proposed some kind of gate to, I guess, close that parking lot. And I know rocks have been brought up in terms of deterring traffic into that area and onto lawns and things of that nature. But what about just simply a solar powered lamp to kind of deter comfort for those?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you may have to. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking. This is not actually. This is public safety transportation. This is not the 2-5s meeting. That's on a different date. Not that we can't help you, but maybe we can get you in contact with Carly and kind of formulate.
Thank you. We've been in touch with Carly and we were told at the Parks meeting that we should possibly attend the public safety and transportation because the 25th precinct was here. So we could at least share our ideas and our concerns.
Hi, Ebony.
Hi.
Yes, so thank you for letting me speak. This is a separate committee meeting, so and the members of the Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee and the Public Safety and Transportation Committees do not overlap. So they're actually not sure what they haven't heard the complaint yet.
Well, that's why we came here, so that the 25th precinct could hear about it. That was the point. I didn't think that they were connected. I was just told that this might be another venue for us. And we wanted to make sure that the 25th precinct knew what was going on. I recognize, based on what Officer Gibbons said, that there are a lot of serious crimes that are going on. And I know that a sound complaint sounds like, kind of frivolous, but, this community, along with the South Bronx community, along with the Astoria community, there in some areas are more lower income communities, and they're dealing with a lot. So when it comes time to sleep, when it comes time to put your toddler to bed, when it comes time to have a little bit of rest time in your own apartment, and you have to hear that noise, and not just hear it, but feel the bass in your bed, that is an issue with mental health. And if that is something that is like a catalyst for people to break or to do things that they normally wouldn't do because they don't have a respite or they don't have rest in their own home, then it's something that needs to be dealt with. And that's why my husband and I wanted to knock on every door that we could, not to create a coalition. You know, it's not just a parks issue. It's also a community affairs 25th precinct issue. And so if we need to go to different committee meetings to let
I'm sorry,
people know
Ebony,
about it.
the 2-5 have its own meeting. We can get you in touch with them. Right now, they actually, their representative is not here because he got from what it's a sergeant. So currently, there's no one representing the 2-5 here. However, the 2-5 meet every month, and that is probably the most effective place for you to go to. Not that we can't service you also here because we like to hear about these things, just that kind of caught us off guard because we haven't heard about the issue. We can also chime in with environmental to see if there's anything we can help. But the 2-5 meets every month. I can provide you with that information if you put your email in the chat. We have a great relationship with Kyoka, who is the president or chair. What is, I think he's President Kyoka of their I'm sorry, I have like a brain fart, but she's kind of in charge of that. I forgot, I'm sorry, but anyhow, and they meet every month for sure. And that is probably the most effective place for you if your goal is to reach out to the 25th precinct.
Jose, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
So
Council, yes, thank you, Dawn. That's the
Yes.
25th precinct council.
My earlier comment was to say that this committee is not sure what the problem is. So if you can actually spell out to them what the problem is that you're experiencing, where like the location, you mentioned the sound complaint, but this is the first time this committee is hearing about it. So if you can, give them those details.
Sure, can you give some context?
Yeah, sure. It's the west parking lot, westmost parking lot of Icon Stadium. And it just seems that what was every Sunday evening, starting at about 8 p.m. during the summer, just this incredibly loud music, which we thought were festivals, but we could kind of see it from our terrace. But it turns out it's just like what we thought were 3 or 4 cars. Until one night when we called the precinct, I would say for about 2 hours straight, and they actually did send a car over. I'm sure, like I said, they probably had more pressing matters to deal with, but they eventually did send a car over. And when the lights got shown, there were literally, I would say anywhere from 50 to 75 cars in that parking lot that started to slowly stream out. But from Sundays, it became every other day to every day when the weather is nice. Starting at about 8 p.m., once the sun goes down, this bass will carry across the river into East Harlem around the community of Jefferson Park. And it's really just next level. We're pretty high up in our building. We can hear it like it's next door and feel it like it's next door. So if we are where we are, we can only imagine for those families that are that much closer to ground zero. So I guess that's probably the passion you felt in Ebony's voice, but yeah, it could keep you up and then some. So we're just wondering, I guess, what could be done. We suggested, like I was saying earlier, just a poll to close that parking lot. There's no business taking place. Let's close that parking lot, and or just a light, solar powered, and just to make it that much less comfortable to do whatever it is being done with that music in the dark.
Yeah, okay, now I know exactly what you're talking about. That is a very popular car meet area. And that's what it is, it's car meets. And they at times have sound system competitions, which even though just to put into perspective for some of our, committee members here, even though you would think that it's such a long distance and that it's an exaggeration, but I mean, some of these systems are just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you can hear it so clearly and feel it so clearly over the river, particularly because the water reflects it. Okay, I thank you for letting us know this issue. I didn't know this is actually the first time we've heard it here. We're gonna reach out on our end. I still suggest that you reach out to the 25th Precinct Council.
For sure.
If you want, if you put your email in the chat, we can definitely get you in contact with Kyoka.
Okay.
But we will definitely take part of the loop.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to hear us out. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
for being.
and
Thank you
I
for
did
coming and
receive-
letting us know.
I'm sorry, Jose. I just want to, I did receive Ebony's email. Expect a response tomorrow. And I will actually, I'll share Kyoka's contact information in that email.
It's phenomenal. Thank you.
And
Thank
sorry for.
All right, Jeremy, we're on to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to add to that. I think the 2-5 precinct, as well as maybe the 125th Councilmember Deanna Ali's task force meeting. They talk about a lot of quality of life issues, including noise complaints that have erupted from the summer and just kind of almost been everyday practice. But it's a place for brainstorming and coming together because obviously it's an issue. But anyways, thank you for having me. And I just wanted to take it aside to apologize for not being here last month. But Jeremy Lockett here with the Manhattan DA's office, the Community Partnership Unit. I don't have much to update on. There are a lot of changes in our office. As you can imagine, we have a new Democratic DA-elect coming into office January. He'll be sworn in. We had an opportunity here. Well, excuse me, my office had an opportunity to hear from him last week and some of his plans. There is a transition team. It's a lengthy group of people that will be working and figuring out how best our office can move forward in the community, helping with public safety, working with law enforcement, but also constituents. So I am very open right now to feedback. A lot of things are going to be the same, but I will say there will be more emphasis on domestic violence. Our own unit, I'm sure, will be expanding the Community Partnership Unit, as well as our reentry services for those that have been formerly incarcerated or detained. So that's going to be continuing. One thing on our end is our ability to meet internally more. I'm looking to have more meetings with our crime strategies unit. If anyone's interested, I know that Officer Gibbons gives presentations regarding crime, but if there are certain trends, particularly on the high level topics of gun violence and domestic violence, we are working to pull together presentations that show those patterns and not just, I don't want to say not just homicides, but there's an emphasis on looking at non-fatal shots and shootings that do not obviously kill someone or hurt someone, but these are mostly done by young people, which we'd like to be tracking more. Let's see, last month I would have said, we gave an update about Art of Healing that occurred October 2nd. It was an amazing event. I know that David Giordano from CB11 Youth and Education was there and some other people from the organizations. In East Harlem, Officer Gibbons was able to help us close down the street over at White Park. We had musicians, we had food going, we had dance-offs, we had a lot of community resources out on the street. We had, a morning prayer just opening up, and I'll just say that's something I'm looking forward to. It's my first time organizing it for East Harlem, and I look forward to doing the next one next year. So more collaboration on that. Let's see. It was Domestic Violence Awareness Month last month. But as I usually say, this is something that should be brought up every month. A lot of our crime is driven, sadly, by intimate partner relationships. Whether it is someone but also it's the intersection is huge. So whether it's presentations that are acute to elderly, whether it's elder abuse or for young people, or if you work with young people, that is something we are very willing to do, is provide trainings, sort of the criminal justice process, but also when it comes to working with a counselor on our end. But I'm going to stop there and provide my contact information. If anyone has any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat box or just reach out. And if I do not know the answer, I'm going to kick that up the chain. And like I said, there's a lot of changes going on, particularly for my office, but I'm looking forward to them. Thank you again for having me here. I'll be here for a while.
Thank you as always, Jeremy. You're a real pleasure.
My hand
Great.
is up, but I think maybe,
I don't see your hand up. Oh, there it is. You know what? It just always blends into the background.
I know, I
Dang.
don't know, I have to change it to another color.
It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
So first of all, I wanted to acknowledge the White Park event. I only got to pass by, because I was at another event, but I thought it was amazing. And I really hope that someone lets the DA's office know that we really appreciate having you as our liaison. And if they decide to promote you, we still want you to come here, or someone
appreciate
like
that.
you who comes regularly and has a lot of policy ideas. So I don't know if we need to just let them know that until before they find out how amazing you are, but we really want to keep this relationship. I'm just saying that would be great. And so
really-
even as you're making changes, I don't know, maybe make sure that they still stick you with us, because
I'll definitely stay in this unit, that's for sure. So I really appreciate you saying that. And you should have said hi. Next time, just come over and tap me on the shoulder if you're stopping by. I know it was a Saturday, but I'm moved by in-person stuff, and I'm a big art person, music person. So just to see everyone out there was big for me. So just stop by and say hi next time, please.
kudos on that though, really.
Yeah, thank you.
Ooh, we have twins here. Lyle Blackwood, DOT. He's on twice. Hey, Lyle.
Anyways, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I have two, one's for my phone, one's for my laptop. I can't get the audio or video, so I have to use both in order to communicate with you guys. So you're gonna see two of me. I don't have much to report this month. I guess just two very quick announcements. First, as mentioned previously, DOT is still milling and resurfacing. We're pretty much wrapping up the season in mid-December. We're currently in Lower Manhattan for the rest of the year, and we're finished with Northern Manhattan until the springtime. But if there are locations within CB11 that you feel DOT has missed, please let me or DOT know, and we can see if we can add it to a future list, ideally for next year. The second quick announcement is in regards to Pleasant Avenue, 117th Street. As of now, there are no new updates to report. On our end, we're still having some conversations with East River Plaza in regards to maintenance partnership. We're trying to schedule some meetings with them in order to discuss further. So essentially to be continued as far as us getting back to you in regards to our potential future relationship with the mall when it comes to moving forward, at least with that portion of the project. So we'll keep you posted as those talks continue. But as of now, nothing new to report from the previous month. That's it for me as far as updates. I figure we can go pretty much straight into the conversation that you wanted to have as far as the pedestrian signals. So I didn't know if you wanted to, if you had any questions or anything, or if you just wanted to go straight into the second portion.
Yeah, we can go into that. It's just an idea that I have. I want to share with the committee. I wanted to run it with you. Carly, could you let me share screen? It's the first time I'm doing this.
You should be able to now.
Yep. You guys can see it. This is a crossing in Japan. I went to Japan a few years ago. And what they do is, let's say this is the avenue. They have a green light for the avenue, a green light for the street, and then they have a dedicated cross time when there are no vehicles moving. Everyone stays still and only pedestrians move. This is, I believe it's called the Scramble Crossing, something that started actually in Canada and the United States in the 40s. But Japan has probably been the most effective at implementing it. They have over 300 different intersections of this form. Fast forward a little bit. In our community, we're having a lot of issues with accidents, fatalities due to crossings, probably one of the top causes of it. This is a view from the top. See, all vehicles stop and everyone crosses. We're also having a major issue in our community with failure to yield summonses. This turned out to be a kind of fundraising tool that Delaware PD is using, where I can show you this example here, where northeast corner, there is 6 lanes. According to our laws, if there's a pedestrian at the very north and they step onto the crosswalk, even though you are at the furthest point, which can be up to 50 feet away, and if you pass the crosswalk, you actually get a ticket for failure to yield. I myself was a victim of this a few years back, and that's basically just how the law is set. So besides the huge public safety issue of having cars that are making either the right or left turn, basically putting their nose into crossing pedestrians, I wanted to have a conversation with the committee to see what they thought about this. If this is a recommendation that we could see what Lyle, because I know that the city has taken a strong vision 0, but we're still not quite there. And this was something that caught my attention. I wanted to have a conversation in regards to it. And I'll just put the video again to show just how everyone crosses. Instead of having to cross to one corner and then to the other corner and wait for the traffic signal twice, we basically, obviously we are still, the cycle length of traffic is a little higher because we're adding a third one, but the public safety is tremendously improved, because at this point, only pedestrians are on the street and there is no cars and pedestrian meeting each other. And now I can stop sharing and we can have a conversation.
Well, I guess just to start off, first and foremost, if there are any intersections in particular that you feel that DOT, you want DOT to look at as far as any additional signal timing phases, like in all pedestrian phase, we call them Barnes dances on our end.
What do you call them? I'm sorry?
Barnes dances. After I think at least in New York City, one of the old transportation or traffic commissioners back in the day, essentially created this
barn
kind of
dance.
Yeah, so you call it the Barnes dance. Essentially, it's a signal phase that's devoted exclusively to pedestrians during traffic signal cycle. No vehicular traffic moves during this phase, and pedestrians may cross in any direction with enough time to cross diagonally, as you saw. Japan's a little bit of an extreme circumstance, but we do have those types of phases, throughout the city in certain locations if they qualify. Ideally, a Barnes dance is commonly thought of as an intersection with diagonal crosswalks and pedestrian signals. And, you can either call them Barnes dances or pedestrian phases. We have different kind of things that, can fall under an all pedestrian phase, but for what you're looking at in particular, at least that instance the clip you showed, that's where all of the signals at one time are pretty much at red, and it gives pedestrians the time to cross with an extended amount of time to the signal cycle. Ideally in locations where it would probably make sense to cross more diagonally, as opposed to, as you're saying, Jose, to go say north and then go east, kind of follow 2 signals. Barnes dances do have, as you mentioned, Jose, significant impacts to vehicle delays, including buses, depending on the traffic patterns of a location. Since all traffic signals are paused for an extended period of time to get those pedestrians to go across the street, there will be a little bit of an extended period to the signal cycle for the vehicles to then move. New York City has many intersections that do not align with the traditional street grid. and I'm going to go into some of the criteria pretty much, as far as what we're looking for. But these locations are skewed geometry, create unique circumstances that require alternative signal timing, like this in this instance, to efficiently and safely move pedestrians. First and foremost, you're a pedestrian first before you're a driver. When we look at these different signals and the different phases that are possible, we do take pedestrians into consideration first and foremost. A few examples where all pedestrian phases would work would be at intersections with the skewed geometry. Say, for example, where the intersection isn't a straight line across, which could compromise a pedestrian walking. If the shortest distance to cross the street is diagonal, so the street has to be, an intersection has to be wide enough or big enough for that to be the case. Usually, if there's a desire to cross diagonally to and from a subway, in a lot of instances, if you see around the city, we usually tend to have these by subway entrances. Usually, a lot of people tend to come in and out of subways, so it's made crossing, especially in the city, a little bit easier. In most instances, you see those barns dances usually by subway entrances. Diagonal crossings are provided in locations where they're beneficial to pedestrians and feasible. Not everywhere. Again, an intersection has to be pretty wide in order to do that. But some of the things that you kind of have to look out for when you install something like this would be increased waiting time for all roadway users, interrupted pedestrian walking flow, and sidewalk overcrowding. That's one thing to consider. The more people you have waiting on the sidewalk, it could tend to overcrowd depending on where you are. Increased vehicle delay and bus delays, bike delays, the spillover effects in adjacent intersections. When you have all phases of cars pretty much just stopped, that can have an effect on other intersections that are surrounding that one intersection, and it potentially reduced crossing time for pedestrians, in addition to all pedestrian phase. But again, there are different tools that we have. We don't have just an all pedestrian phase. We do have other things that we can use, like say leading pedestrian intervals. I'm sure you've seen locations where the cars all do stop, and we give pedestrians a couple of extra seconds, usually about 7 seconds of time to lead across the street, so that they kind of have, a little bit of an extra edge on the cars. We have split timing phases. Basically, I'm sure you've seen, especially there in Midtown, where you have one traffic signal but it has two different arrows. So traffic can go straight in one direction, and it can also turn in two different signal phases. There's geometry that we can use in order to kind of tighten up certain intersections. You've seen we have curb extensions in certain locations, additional signage for turn restrictions, double yellow is kind of like a hardened center, pedestrian islands if the location or the intersection is wide enough and we do have the space in the concrete. So there are different things that we can do if an all pedestrian signal phase isn't feasible for a certain intersection. There are a couple of different things that we can do. And again, if there's certain locations within CB11 that you want us to check out, absolutely, by all means, you can send me a list, or I know that you wanted to maybe do some site visits, that sort of thing. We can definitely do that, and I can try to bring some of my folks from our intersection control unit, our signals division. That's a division pretty much in DOT that's more or less devoted to signal timing and all the sort of things that you're looking for as far as intersections, and we can do to kind of control the vehicles going through. So yeah, if there are any locations that you're thinking of, we can put something on the calendar, a couple of dates, and we can, go through. Like I said, I can bring some folks on my end, and we can see what we can do for you.
Yeah, because this kind of ties in with our number 2, which is about problem intersections.
Yeah.
Most of these intersections will intertwine, say 116 first, second, third Lex, 125th and Lex. Park Avenue, since it's a thin space, it's not as problematic. But Sometimes even the Madison Crossing is an issue. Dawn has a question.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in this, but one thing that strikes me that actually, I don't know if DOT, I'm sure DOT doesn't have to deal with this, but we still have a lot of New Jersey plates that turn right on red. We have, I don't know, we have these paper plates, and I don't know about the young man, the 15-year-old, but the people I see running through the red lights and turning on red and not paying attention are these new paper plates that are coming from Texas buyer and all. I guess you could get it on the internet. And I'm not to talk bad about Jersey drivers, but they turn right on red, Connecticut too. And that's like a real issue. But I just wonder at what point we pull
More of an
DOT.
enforcement issue though, Dawn.
Right, that's
DOT
what, but I'm saying.
DOT
what-
doesn't do enforcement.
Right, I understand, but what point do we look at both of those issues? Because, I mean, I don't have the stats, but it seems like even with the signals, the enforcement issue is overshadowing the signals and so on at the intersections. But that's what's haunting my dreams, like these paper plates, like the person who was killed today. It seems to be an issue with the types of drivers that we have on our roads right now too.
I mean, one thing that, oh, sorry, I have to cut you off. I was going to say one thing that we can think, I mean, if maybe, I know one thing that we're trying to do is kind of take away signs, you know, so that we can have less visual clutter. But if there are certain locations where you feel maybe a no turn on red, you know, a sign might be necessary, you know, you can always send an email to me. We have a different division, our borough engineering division, that, you know, handles signage, that sort of thing. If they feel it's feasible, you know, at certain intersections, maybe it's something we can install. So if you have a couple in mind, you can send them to me and I can see if there's anything we can do for you as far as those kind of signs.
And even a red light camera on certain intersections where there's just like there's no respect for any of the signage.
Yeah, we have, as far as cameras, I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the state that essentially determines how many cameras the city gets. And I know that we've gotten additional cameras recently. I don't know if we have any in the works coming up. Everybody wants a camera, you know. But, you know, again, if there's certain locations, you know, that, you know, we want us to consider, maybe somewhere down the line we might be able to install a camera at a location, or we might be able to get a couple of extra eyes to see if it's warranted. So again, you can always, you know, let me know, and, you know, we have a division for that also. We have a division that handles the red light cameras and the speed cameras.
Thank you for that. But I don't want to detract away from the priority, which is what Jose is talking about. But
I understand.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that, you know, there are a couple there, you know, there are a bunch of different things we can do, or, you know, different options that we can do, you know, in order to, you know, slow down cars, or to, you know, make pedestrians safer, you know, including, you know, stuff with the signals. So, you know, there are a lot of things, we have a lot of divisions, you know, there are a couple of things that we can brainstorm. And, you know, like I said, if we go, you know, out on site, you know, there might be a couple of things that we can do on top of, you know, looking at the signals or the signal timing. You know, it might be an issue where, you know, signage might be something we can add, or maybe we can, you know, narrow the street a little bit more, you know, do some more traffic calming stuff, that sort of thing. So, you know, there are a lot of things that we have on our end, you know, to kind of combat traffic and pedestrian, you know, issues. So, you know, everything's on the table, you know, when it comes to certain locations, you know, depending on where they are.
Michelle, you have a question?
Yes, I do. It just took me a little while to unmute myself.
Oh, it's fine.
Thank you for your presentation. I am for pedestrian signals so that pedestrians can cross the street safely. However, I am concerned about is it easier to get a camera put up than it would be get one of these types of signals into the neighborhood? Is that what you were implying?
I would say usually it's probably easier for us to do it through the signal timing as opposed to a camera. We have more control over the signals than we do over the amount of cameras that we get from the state. And we would probably be able to do something faster in-house through the signal timing if it's doable, than through the camera. So I would say as far as the first step, we can look at different intersections and see if the signal timing might be something that can change the traffic patterns. And then if there are other things that we can do in order to make an intersection safer, we can take it from there, if that works.
I have a follow-up as to what you had just said.
Sure.
You said that you do, I'm going to address what you said, like you do a little bit more research to find out where the cameras could go. Is it possible that in reverse and just put up, not the cameras, I'm sorry, to put the changing of the lights and to slow it down for the pedestrians? Is it possible just to have that established in just a few places and see how it goes as opposed to the reverse?
Oh, sure. I mean, depending on the intersection, again, there are a couple of different sorts of signal timing phases we can look at. Maybe it might not necessarily be, an all pedestrian signal phase where all the cars stop. It might be something where we have, I think I mentioned leading pedestrian interval. So instead of it being, say 30 seconds for all pedestrians to cross, you have, say, a 7-second head start, that sort of thing. Or if there are intersections that might have medians, there might be, different things that we can do. But, like I said, we have different options that we can do. But the signal timing, like that's in-house, that's something that we might be able to tackle a little bit sooner, than most other things. So that might be
when you mean a 7-second head start,
Mhm.
at that point, are all traffic signals red?
No, just in the direction. No, it would be pretty much just for the light that's essentially going to turn, but it would be no, it wouldn't be for all cars to go. No.
Because how does that work? That doesn't make sense to me. If the lights are not red, then people can't cross. Even if you give them a head start, they would be walking into traffic.
Well, basically, let's see. Well, leading pedestrian intervals, they do allow pedestrians to get a 7-second or so head start in the crosswalk before vehicles begin to move. It increases pedestrian visibility and reduces pedestrian vehicle conflicts. It also,
but I'm sure during those 7 seconds, all the lights are red because otherwise you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking you because I'm a little confused.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So during that time, you could say it's like the scramble or the barn dance where
but for a short amount of time, exactly.
For those 7 seconds, everything is red.
Yeah, it'd be only for a short amount of time. Yes.
Thank you. Michelle, I'm sorry. Did you have any other follow-up questions?
I did have another one where it came to
Please go
I
ahead.
know areas that have an older population.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if you can add or establish those areas so that 7-second or possibly a little bit longer, so individuals that are older can cross with ease without that fear of having to go up faster and hurt themselves even further.
Yeah, again, if there's certain locations that you feel that they're warranted, I can put my email in the chat box. You can send me an email and put that exactly as you mentioned, as far as concerns for senior citizens, and like I said, every little bit helps as far as our analysis. So that's something that they can take into consideration, when doing this, when doing the traffic study. So I can do that if anything, and you can send it to me, and I can see what we can do as far as those intersections in particular that you're looking at.
Thank you.
No problem.
So what you do is like a short interval of barn dance, which is a 7-second head start. And during that time, all lights are red. Because I know that one of the issues with this is cycle length. However, considering like, give you the example of 116 and 3rd, and you're going up 3rd, and you want to make a right on 116. I'm not necessarily sure if it actually causes more traffic issue, because to make that right is almost impossible. You have to wait for every pedestrian to go through, particularly with the failure to yield law as it currently stands. And then when there's no one on the crosswalk, you make the right turn, or if you're going left, you make the left turn. But there is a significant amount of pedestrian traffic on our main intersections.
Oh,
But I found it interesting that you guys do this. You call it pedestrian interval. So interval.
yeah. And like I said, they're
Right.
different. So we could, we could look at all different types in a certain location, not just the all pedestrian phase. So, like I said, if there's certain locations you want to, conduct a site visit for, by all means, we can. Like I said, we can put some dates on the calendar. It's no problem.
Perfect. Does anyone else in the committee have any questions regarding either the pedestrian interval or scramble crossings? This is just a discussion we're having amongst the committee. Going once, going twice. Okay. Our second discussion was committee discussion regarding problem intersections and scheduling walkthroughs with DOT. Both kind of intermingle. Lau, we've asked you for this. Do you have some dates for us yet, or?
I don't have any dates for you yet in particular, but I can get those. I can get those to you tomorrow if that works.
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. I can
Dates
also
and times, and then we can confirm with the committee to see that whoever wants to be present, if they're available, if they are capable at the time and date. And if we have a few different dates, it would be great, so that we can give a few different options, and we'll pick whatever date the majority can attend.
Sure, no problem. If you have a list of intersections, that you want to start off with, you can send those to me too. And
I'm definitely gonna send you those. I have a few in mind. Even on our southernmost corner of 96th Street, that area, as you heard, 97th Street is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So anywhere in that area, as well as 125th Street, 116, 106 has a lot of pedestrian. It's been newly done. They have that middle island now, so I heard it's pretty good. But around Metropolitan Hospital, I know there's a lot of issues. So I'll definitely be reaching out with those intersections.
Sure.
And I'll wait for you to give me those dates and times to share with the committee.
Okay, if anything, maybe we can go south to north, maybe say from 96 on up, if that works. And then
absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So I'll get back to you tomorrow, and we can get the ball rolling on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Lau.
No
Does
problem.
anyone from the committee have any other questions for Lau? Okay, look, Lau, they're letting off the hook tonight. It's a good sign.
Does Michelle still have the same question? I just saw her.
I think it's from the previous question. All right, Carly, let's move forward then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Lau. We have old business, St. Conway. We saw this presentation last month, 97th Street between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue. It was truly inspiring to see the history in our community. This was a very, very complete package. As we typically do in this committee, we have a presentation, then we vote on it the next month. So this month, it is, we have the ability to vote on it. I'd like to know if anyone wants to do a motion to go forward with this. Michelle? Michelle? You have to unmute yourself.
Can I make a motion to support if
Yes.
Michelle doesn't come on?
Yeah, because I think Michelle's having issue unmuting.
Okay, so
Dawn,
I want to make a
you can
motion.
definitely make the motion to support. And then I need a second. Michelle, are you on now?
I was trying to make a motion, but I guess I got disconnected.
I think so, but Don made this motion and you can second it.
But I'm willing to switch places too. You want to do
Okay.
it like that?
We could do it like that. Look at that. This is camaraderie.
Go ahead.
So fine. So Michelle will make the motion and Dawn seconds the motion and we're gonna take a
Second.
vote.
Okay, Altamirano,
Yes.
Alcancella is not here. Collier,
Yes.
Diaz, not here. Febrero,
Yes.
Garcia is not here. Mac, is she still on the line?
No, she stepped off.
Okay, Morris? Jessica? Okay, we'll come back to her. Pava? Miguel? Oh. Okay, we'll come back. Sanders?
Yes.
Wiltshire Clement?
Yes.
Morris? Pava? Miguel?
I'm gonna send Jessica a text.
Okay. Either way, the motion carries, but
Okay, if it carries, then we're good. Beautiful.
okay.
I'm sure they'll be very happy. I mean, it was an
Yes, and they're on, I
amazing-
see Father Mark is on the line. Father
Oh.
Mark,
Please
it's
let
just
me
so you-
speak.
okay, we'll allow you to speak, Father Mark. Just so you know, next steps, we are going to send this now to the full board for a full board vote on the 23rd.
Can
Hi,
everyone
Father
hear me?
Mark. We hear you.
I just want to say thank you to the whole committee, especially to Carly, who's been so helpful throughout the whole process in, helping us while we were gathering the materials.
She's the best, isn't she?
She is very organized. We're very impressed. We're very happy to have such wonderful professionals, such as all of you, in our community. That makes us even happier to be part of this community. Once again, thank you to everyone for helping us get this through. We're truly touched and eternally grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Father.
can I ask a follow-up to that or the next steps?
Go to full board.
Well, I just gotta, no, I guess I don't know how much is presented at full board, but I just thought that the way this group brought a person who lived in this community, who was actually not necessarily, well, I think they brought a Puerto Rican gentleman and he was saying, well, what do I have to do with this church? And so I just really liked how they tied the church into people who might not necessarily be at that church. So it just kind of like emphasized the inclusivity. So I don't know if there's opportunity at the full board, but I think that to me spoke very loudly that they found people who you might more reasonably find in East Harlem, brought them on and had them say how even though they are not part of that tradition, they were brought into that tradition and shown love and respect. And I thought that was very smart. So just putting that out there. I'm
Thank
sure the board will vote along with us, but I really thought that was a good model that everybody should use when they are trying to rename a street.
So, go ahead, Father Mark.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you can speak.
Okay, just a quick question in terms of full board. Do we present once more, or is this more of a we come where we participate and silently wait?
It's more of the vote occurs during business session. So if you would like to say a few words during our public session, I can send you the link to register. It's like a 3-minute to speak sort of thing. But then the vote will happen during business session, and unless anybody has any questions for you, then you will not be asked to present again.
Okay, I understand. So basically be prepared to speak, but it's not something that usually happens, right?
No.
Like with this committee. Okay. I will be reaching out to get a link to, to participate in any way I can. Thank you.
Of course.
But your presentation was excellent. Sorry for breaking the.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Means a lot.
Sorry about that. And Xavier has a question or comment?
Not so much a question. Thank you, Father, for being here and presenting to the committee, passing through. And I was glad that Father Yesolani from St. Ignatius Loyola was able to connect everyone, connect me to you and all that you've been presenting before. I'm glad to see a very productive meeting. And yes, to answer your question, just have information ready. And we look forward to seeing this. And I think the inclusivity aspect that was just previously commented on is a wonderful thing. And I think that's the spirit we carry forward with this community court. So thank you, everyone, Jose, all the members of this committee, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you for all the level best work you do.
Thank you, Xavier. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you, Father, for being here. Let's move forward. Business, we didn't have anything new business. Diane Collier. Go ahead, Diane.
Thank you, Jose. Don spoke briefly about it earlier in the call about, I don't know if you guys have heard that there is a new safe injection site that is opening on 126th Street. And this is where the lines get a little blurred for me, even for me, Jose, where, that there's this fall under public health, health and human services. There's a fall under public safety because safe injection sites, even though it has a very good story as to hopefully taking them off the street, it also encouraged them to be even more so into drugs than others. So again, we're back to oversaturating a community that already is more than well equipped to handle not just our own people, but really citywide. So I'm just putting it on the table. Should we be discussing? That's one of them. There's a second thing I want to talk to the team about as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. How much of this is public safety? How much of this is human services?
What's your second point?
My second point is something totally different.
But go ahead, so we can just kind of get it all.
Okay, you want to put them all at the same time. The other thing that, and this has come up several times at full board, about defunding the police, and several people on the board are, of course, every so often it comes up in conversations. And at the same time, when I sit at some of the police meetings, it's like totally opposite what some of the people are saying at the board. So that I was wondering perhaps if this committee would like to spearhead an open session, a public session where we bring in people from the community and let's hear their thoughts as to how we should be moving forward with that idea. So that's my second thing.
Sure. I know that we've heard that from members of the full board. I think in our last full board meeting, actually, you heard it's just a few members, and then the majority of the members were actually in favor. And I don't know what the solution is, to be honest. Obviously, there are issues in NYPD, like in any other department, but they can improve. At the same time, I think it's a little irresponsible, a little reckless to just say defund them and not have a plan. It's one of the reasons that we never had a defund the police presentation, because as chair, I told them, like, I don't mind you presenting, but then you need to have a follow-up. What's the plan after that? Because it's a little reckless. I remember in other earlier years when we didn't have as many officers, and this neighborhood was a very different neighborhood, a lot more violent, a lot more volatile. You know, now we hear a homicide every once in a while. I used to see a homicide every week on this block. You know, but people weren't always there for those times. So, you know, it's good that those times have passed, but it was the police presence that brought that to an end. It wasn't anything else. So I think we have to be responsible as the community board. I think that we have to start voicing our opinions. I feel that a lot of times, a lot of members have reservations about what they're hearing and they're not really expressing themselves. So all we're hearing are the same 2-3 people saying it over and over, and it sounds like the majority, but it really isn't the majority. Some people just don't want to be confrontational. Some people just don't want to be, you know, have these issues. But that's also, you know, irresponsible of us, because we're here for our community and we're here to do the best we can do. It's just a conversation we're going to continue to have. I don't have an issue doing something in that matter, Diane. But at the end of the day, it's also the community board members that have to start being a little active. If they hear something that they disagree with, they should speak up. I mean, I tend to speak up quite a lot, and it is what it is, but I can't be the only one speaking up. And I know a lot of you share similar thoughts, because a lot of you that have been here for a long time know the issues that we went through. I mean, right now, our community has changed a lot. It's, you know, I'm on 116 now. I mean, Johnson's there, Jefferson's there, and we're very close to everything. I've shared the story, and Thanksgiving Day, I'll come into the office in the morning and I'll drive into a shooting on 115 as I'm going around the corner, and I kind of just pull it to the side and let it finish. And once it's finished, I go around like it's normal. But, you know, obviously something like that's not normal. And we've improved tremendously. Like, I just want to make sure that we understand that through the work of this community board, the work of our representatives, we have continued to improve in this community and public safety. Sometimes I hear people say like, oh, this is the worst, or this, or complaining consistently about our community. Like, you know what? It's just because you haven't seen what it was like before. And there's no real comparison, right? You're comparing this to other neighborhoods you lived in that were probably a little nicer, let's say. But I think it's definitely something that we need to continue. But this also falls on the committee members and the community board members, that you hear something you're not in agreement with, then speak up. Then speak up. Because otherwise, if we're only hearing 2-3 people, that becomes now the majority. And, you know, and we're here to kind of put our ideas together. It's not about fighting, or, you know, we're not always going to see eye to eye on everything, but we have to, at the very least, participate. And not giving your opinion or your thoughts is not participating. So then what are we really doing here? In regards to your first one, Diane, I mean, as you know, that doesn't go to the community board. We have very little control over that. However, we can send letters if we do motions, if we present something on particular projects. I think that's an action that we can take, something that we can bring up, that you can send to me, and we can bring up at next committee meeting. But you, as you know, there's some things that go through the community board, and in this particular case, that supportive housing and those methadone clinics, all of that goes directly to the state. I mean, you've been here longer than us, and I share your frustration. The clinic said they got CB approval.
I'm very much aware of what happened there, you know, that.
I'm not sure if someone said that they got CB approval.
No, they did not. That is an existing needle exchange site currently. And it just looks like they added that additional layer of a safe injection site to that location, okay? I don't recall, and Carly, keep me honest, and even Xavier on this one, I don't recall them when they did come to Health and Human Services indicate at any point in time that they were looking at 126th Street. I see you shaking your head, Carly.
You're correct. There was also no vote taken. So the community
Right.
board not formally taken any position.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, Dr. Cunningham, who at this point has been named the commissioner for OASIS, made no indication, did not state anything at all about 126th Street. At least I don't recall it.
No, you're correct, Diane.
And I'm sorry, Jose, to cut you off. Not to say, and you're right, Jose, there was no vote taken on this. There was no request for a support because it was already an existing site. But she gave no indication that this was what they were looking at. For any kind of input. It was just, if I recall, Carly, it was just a presentation.
I wasn't at that meeting, but from my conversation with Marlene, there was no indication that there was any. So the opening on 126th Street was news to everybody, including
Right. Right. And Jose, the only thing I'm asking is, it is a blurred line between public safety and Health and Human Services about this whole issue. And I leave it up to the executive team to discuss how to work that so that.
Honestly, Diane, I think I've been on this community board a little less than you, but quite a long time now. And I think the only way we're really going to get traction on this is to have them have to go to the community board, right? Oasis currently doesn't, and we're going to have to go to our state representatives, Robert Rodriguez Assembly, the ghost in Senate Serrano, and we're going to have to push to see what they can do to have these particular kind of businesses require community board approval. And I'm sure that this is something that they don't want because they want to continue doing this very same thing, which is just, kind of bypassing the communities. But I think, we can continue to talk about this particular thing, but I think we're going to have to be proactive, reach out to the state and continue to press on them the need for the community board to be involved when a project like this is going into place, and that it should require community board approval. And I believe that's the only way, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this over a lot of years and nothing's changed. But if we want to change it, then we're going to have to be proactive, go to the state and say, hey, this is what we need. We need you to make this as a community board approval. So any new sites in our community board, in our community, has to have our approval. And unless we do that, then we're not going to have it. Dawn, you have a question or a comment?
You were on a roll like several comments back, so I had to write it down. But going back, I think you're spot on about the new people speaking up. Like I called basically every member of the community board. A lot of new members were like, oh, I'm just being quiet and listening. And I was really strongly urging people to start speaking up. So I am definitely in agreement with that. And then I also wanted to add to this point with the needle exchange. I think it's also important, the state can say, they're going to say, oh, we don't have time to go to the community board, but it's also the people who live on that block that didn't know that was happening. That's unacceptable, right? So for the people who live across the street at 164 or they should be asked, is this treatment center a good neighbor to you? Or are they not a good neighbor to you? Now, my understanding is that this center is a good neighbor, is as good as a neighbor you can be to the neighboring community. But that should be brought to us, like you said. And then the people who live on that block should really be informed and have some say-so about whether or not those services are going to be expanded. And in this case, it did not happen. So I totally agree with you. And I like how you put it. And just want to bring it back to the people who are on that block, right? Because like if that center is a good neighbor and they get along well with the building across the street and the neighboring buildings, and they they have someone posted in front there all the time and they keep people moving, then that's something we should know, right? Then we can, we can weigh in, or we could say, oh, we heard you're not a good neighbor. You're not a good neighbor right now. And kids get out of school, they're harassed. So you shouldn't be doing anything further, right? So I guess it comes back to what you said, that stuff should go through us. So I totally agree. I like how you put it. And just for the notes in the chat, like we can't, everything we do is on the record. It's all recorded. So we can't keep denying that we did or didn't approve this. If we approved it, it would be on the record, which is you can get the meetings on YouTube and you can check for yourself. But I digress.
Sometimes they may have an approval for one thing and they use that approval to kind of move forward other projects. I've seen that where we may give one approval and that approval is stretched real long, so we'll actually look into this. Someone's on the chat, and Annie Kareen. So we'll look into this. But at the same time, it's definitely, I think if we want to be proactive, this is what we'll have to do with the state. I think we're going to have to go to the state and just continuously push them so that they can include us. Otherwise, Diane, we're going to have this conversation every other year when something else pops up and have very limited input into it.
Well, I'm 100% that they should be coming to the board anyway, one way or the other. The question is how this slip through our hands.
All right, I'm going to speak to Angel and Carly, and we'll try to see if there's if we need to do a resolution, if we need what's the best way of doing it. Maybe formulate some language, and then we can present it at next month's meeting. Because it is something definitely that we need to do. It's something that is long overdue, to be perfectly honest, because this problem has been occurring. The concentration of certain clinics and certain kinds of supportive housing has been, and we get a lot of complaints from the neighborhood. So, and I'm going to reach out to our electeds. I have a good relationship with Robert, so I'll ask Robert. And we'll see through everything else to see what we can do. All right, any other I have some chat stuff. Hold on. Oh, that's Eva Chan. Hi, Eva. Yep, okay, I kind of went over that, but thank you. It's not a good neighbor. Okay. They are going to, talking about the bus that we spoke in the beginning, I just wanted to go over it. What they did is that there was a lot of traffic coming into Manhattan, and they divided it, even though there was some concerns about people and elderly having to transfer buses. However, they're expecting this to improve bus timing significantly by separating the two. This is something actually that we've been asking for in our community. The reason that we have like terrible service in buses is because in Midtown, these buses get caught up in traffic. And at that point, it's more of a traffic issue than anything else. So when they do the Manhattan redesign, we're gonna continue to participate, and we're gonna ask for a bus that goes to 60th Street, which is more or less where congestion starts, and have that bus come up and down into our neighborhood. And even though transfers can be problematic, it's still supposed to give you much better service. The Manhattan redesign was supposed to have been done, but COVID unfortunately caused a huge delay in everything. But anyhow, let's move forward. I think we're done with new business, and roll call and adjournment. Carly?
Okay. Altamirano,
Present.
Alcancella. Excuse me. Collier.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Carly?
Yes. Pebrero.
Judith.
Yes, I'm sorry, I stepped away. Can you tell me what this is for?
Oh, it's roll
Attendance,
call.
I'm sorry?
roll call.
Oh, well, I'm here.
Got it. Garcia. Mac. Morris. Hava. McMill.
Here.
Sanders.
Did you say Sanders?
Yes.
I'm here.
And Wiltshire Clement. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate everyone for their time. I hope everyone has a good night, and we will continue doing the good work. Thank you all.